Hello everyone, Weather Jamaica here. Welcome to this updated video on the weather across Jamaica and the rest of the Caribbean. It is Monday evening, June 24, 2024. Now before we jump into it, please ensure that you guys like the video. I'd really appreciate it if you guys get this video up to 100 likes. If you don't know by now, that's how the YouTube algorithm works. We all like the video and then the YouTube algorithm pushes the video out to more weather lovers or rain lovers just like you guys, so that we can build this weather community in time for the peak of Atlantic hurricane season. That's August through to October, so that we can keep everyone safe. Share this video with your friends, your co-workers, your relatives, and even your church brethren, and subscribe if you haven't yet done so. Leave a comment down below letting me know what that's been like in your area recently. Also feel free to ask any weather related question that you might have about the future of weather in your specific area. Alright, so let us take a look at the latest visible satellite images of Jamaica as the sun is starting to go down. Considering that it is 6:24 p.m, we can see that we still have some leftover clouds from what took place today. We're going to be talking about what took place later, but we can see that we have some stray clouds coming into sections of St. Thomas, Portland in this evening. We can also see some leftover clouds across sections of St. James, northwestern St. Elizabeth, and Westmoreland as we speak. So they're definitely getting in on some amount of isolated thunder shower activity, and we can see it all even better on the latest infrared satellite images that show the high cold cloud tops as represented by the blues, greens, yellows, oranges, reds, not to mention the sparkling white dots that represent some amount of lightning strikes if not lightning flashes. So sections of Westmoreland definitely getting in on thunderstorm activity as we speak, and we can see it all even better on the Cuban Doppler radar images. We know Doppler radar images show the actual rainfall because we can have cloud cover over an area and not necessarily rainfall, so it's good to have the Doppler radar images to look at. Unfortunately, the Jamaican Doppler radar has been done for quite some time, but I spoke to Evan Thompson, who is the principal director of the Meteorological Service of Jamaica. I spoke to him a couple weeks ago, and he stated that the Jamaican Doppler radar should be up and running by July of this year, so hopefully we don't have to be depending on the Cuban Doppler radar anytime soon. We can see that we have that rainfall as represented by what we saw in the satellite images right there across sections of northwestern St. Elizabeth. Westmoreland is represented by the yellows, and the greens that represent moderate to heavy rainfall. Some of you might be wondering, but what about the other greens that we're seeing across the land here? Well, if we actually match it to the latest images, we're not really seeing much. So we can only decipher that all of that is a glitch. That is what we call ground clutter. So don't be fooled. We always have to match what we see on the satellite images with the Doppler radar images, and it is all making sense with that rainfall across sections of Westmoreland. Let us talk about what was predicted in yesterday's video about the weather across Jamaica for today, Monday, June 24. It was stated that we would have received some afternoon rainfall across sections of some northern and western parishes in Jamaica on Monday. You know, northern parishes, we're talking about those parishes on the top side of the island, so Hanover, St. James, Trelawney, St. Anne, St. Mary, Portland. And western parishes, you know, we're talking about those parishes in the county of Cornwall, so Hanover, St. James, Trelawney, Westmoreland, and St. Elizabeth. And what ended up happening? At 3:05 p.m, a post was made on our Twitter page at Weather Jamaica. Keep in mind that these posts aren't only made here on our Twitter page, but on our Instagram page at weather.jamaica, on our TikTok page at Weather Jamaica, and on our Facebook page at Weather Jamaica 876. So if you have one of those social media platforms, please ensure that you follow us there, as we make posts throughout the day that you can't afford to miss. So we saw on the visible satellite images that we had some clouds bring some isolated showers and even some thunderstorms across sections of where? Some northern and western parishes in Jamaica. So definitely sections of northwestern St. Elizabeth, Hanover, especially St. James, where we see those sparkling yellow dots. Definitely had some strong thunderstorms across eastern Hanover, sections of southwestern St. James. We also had some thunderstorms across sections of the border of St. Mary and St. Anne right there. And if we look back at the latest infrared satellite images, we can see what exactly took place. Definitely had that burst of convection across sections of eastern St. Anne and sections of St. James. And if we take a look at what took place across the corporate area for today, this camera is showing the Kingston Harbor. This is the live stream of See Jamaica's YouTube channel, and we backtracked to about 12:46 p.m. today, and we saw that it was a mostly sunny day across the island. Not much taking place across Kingston for that matter, as we saw on the visible satellite images. And it all makes sense considering that majority of the cloud cover was across the north and the west. And the accumulated precipitation map from the Caribbean Institute for Meteorology and Hydrology website confirms the rainfall. We can see the rainfall mainly focused across sections of St. Anne, St. Mary, sections of St. James, Hanover, Westmoreland, just like we saw on the visible satellite images. We know these maps aren't 100% accurate, but it does indeed paint a picture of where we had that rainfall today. If we take a look at the temperatures right now, we can say we have 28 degrees Celsius in both Montego Bay and Kingston. And by about 4 a.m. on Tuesday, temperature should dip down to about 26 degrees Celsius in Montego Bay and 24 degrees Celsius in Kingston. As it relates to the temperature forecast for tomorrow, this map from the GFS is showing 18Z on Tuesday, which is actually 1 p.m. on Tuesday. And we see Jamaica right here embedded in some yellows and some gold colors that represent 1 to 2 degrees Celsius above normal temperatures, as we can see by the key on the right. And we know the normal temperatures for the month of June are about 90 degrees Fahrenheit. When we take a look at the thermometer, 90 degrees Fahrenheit is about the same as 32.2 degrees Celsius. So we should be receiving anywhere from 32 to 34 degrees Celsius at most for Jamaica's temperature on Tuesday. As it relates to the Saharan dust forecast for 2 p.m. on Tuesday, we can see that it is definitely making its way closer to Jamaica. Jamaica right here, right under the word port, that stands for Port-au-Prince. I don't know why they did this map like that, but Jamaica is right here. And we can see that by 2 p.m. on Tuesday, the Saharan dust that we've been talking a lot about is definitely on its way. The Saharan dust is represented by all of these dark brown colors, and we know it can cause a lot of hazy skies, not to mention trigger some amount of respiratory illnesses in some people. So please ensure that you take necessary precautions, have your meds ready, whether it be your asthma pump, your sinusitis meds. If I were you, I'd definitely bring back the masks. They definitely help. If we take a look at the wave forecast for tomorrow, we see that both the Euro and the GFS malls are in consensus that we have more blues surrounding the island, and we see by the key on the bottom right, the blues are representative of anywhere from 1 to 1.5 meter wave heights, and that's because the winds are going to be coming in from the east, averaging anywhere from 15 to 20 knots, as we see by the bright green colors. And we see that we're going to be having the winds coming in from the east, so anything that comes off of the sea definitely could affect sections of St. Thomas and Portland in the east. And we also see that the air is going to be piling up across sections of some northern and western parishes in Jamaica. So we might have those cumulus clouds becoming mid-level rain clouds, or even upper-level cumulonimbus clouds across sections of the north and west. As usual, yes, we're still in that pattern favoring northern and western Jamaica, so we can't rule out some afternoon thunderstorms across sections of the north and west. So we know sections of St. Mary, St. Anne, Trelawney, St. James, Hanover, Westmoreland, maybe spilling into sections of St. Elizabeth, could get in on some afternoon rainfall, but St. Thomas and Portland for sure in the morning as usual. And if we actually take a look at the rainfall forecast maps now, this map from the Euro and this map from the GFS are in consensus. Both of them are in agreement that there's some amount of rainfall in store at about 5 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is actually 4 a.m. Jamaica time, for a section of St. Thomas and Portland. All of this coming in from the east, so definitely some morning rainfall for those parishes, maybe even spilling into sections of Kingston and St. Andrew. One would only hope. Then we see that by 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is actually 10 a.m. Jamaica time, we still see much of the same blues that represent rainfall across the east. Then by afternoon now, we start to see the Euro and the GFS making more sense, showing that we still have some rainfall in the east in St. Thomas and Portland, but some of that has spilled into sections of maybe northern St. Andrew, northern St. Catherine, sections of St. Mary, St. Anne, Trelawney, St. James, sections of Hanover, Westmoreland. And we see that both the Euro and the GFS malls are in consensus with this. Even although the Euro is showing some of those blues across the south, we're more inclined to believe what both maps are showing, and we see that they're in consensus for eastern, northern, and western parishes during the afternoon. So northern parishes definitely going to be getting in the mix, western parishes for the afternoon as well. And we can see that both the Euro and the GFS's accumulated precipitation forecast maps are in consensus that there's going to be some amount of rainfall in store for a section of the island within the next 24 hours. The most in the way of rainfall should be across the eastern and the western ends of the island. Euro showing up to 0 point 0.35 of an inch of rainfall across St. Thomas, Portland side. GFS showing more of the rainfall across the west, up to at least 0.28 of an inch of rainfall. We'll see exactly what unfolds. Either way, we're indeed grateful. We're in the month of June. We're in our secondary season. We usually receive up to 133.35 millimeters of rainfall during this month. So we'll take all the rainfall that we can get to put some kind of a damper on the heat that we've been experiencing for the past month. Alright, so that's it for the forecast across Jamaica. Let us focus our attention on the rest of the basin. So first things first, we can see that the surface map right here is showing what we're currently experiencing. We have a tropical wave right here across a portion of the Central Caribbean, stretching all the way down into portions of Venezuela and Colombia. Another tropical wave right there across the Eastern Caribbean, and another tropical wave to the east of the Eastern Caribbean. And as usual, we have the ridge of high pressure that's responsible for sending all of these entities from east to west, not to mention the Saharan dust from Africa. If we take a look at the visible satellite images of the Atlantic before the sun went down, we can see all the clouds associated with the tropical waves. That tropical wave right here to the south of the Dominican Republic and Haiti, the tropical wave that's affecting portion of the Eastern Caribbean, and the other tropical wave that the Hurricane Center is definitely watching for possible development as it pushes from east to west, and we're going to be talking some more about that. You can also see the flow of all of these entities pushing from east to west, all courtesy of the ridge of high pressures flow of easterly trades, and we can see the clouds associated with the intertropical convergence zone right there up the coast of Africa, stretching all the way across the main development region into portions of northern South America. If we take a look at the Doppler radar images of the northeastern Caribbean for today, if these images will load, doesn't seem like, okay, here we go. So we can see that for the northeastern Caribbean, we didn't see much in the way of rainfall today. But if we take a look at the images from earlier, we definitely had some rainfall across sections of the US and British Virgin Islands. As usual, sections of northwestern Puerto Rico, sections of San Juan even got in on some rainfall. The Dominican Republic got in on some of that as well. Not much in the way of rainfall across the Leeward Islands. But if we take a look at the Barbados radar, we can see that we have some rainfall coming in from the east to affect sections of Barbados, some rainfall about to affect sections of Dominica coming in from the east, some rainfall already affecting sections of Martinique, sections of St. Lucia, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, sections of Trinidad and Tobago definitely getting nailed as we speak. And if we take a look at the wider view of Doppler radar images, we can see that rainfall across sections of the Bahamas, southern Florida, Cuba, some amount of rainfall also taking place across sections of Colombia, Mexico, Belize, sections of Venezuela, areas to the north of the ABC Islands, as well as sections of Suriname and French Guiana. If we take a look at the wave forecast for tomorrow, for majority of the Caribbean basin, we see more lighter shades of blues across portion of the Gulf of Mexico and the Bahamas that we know represent anywhere from 0.5 meter wave height to 1 meter wave height. So we have more darker shades of blues, even a mixture of some purples in there, for majority of the central to the eastern Caribbean that we know represents anywhere from 1 to 1.5 to even 2 meter wave heights. And that's because the winds are going to be strongest across the Caribbean, where we see the brighter shades of greens and the yellows that represent anywhere from 15 to 20 to even 25 knots, and we see the general direction from the east, while we have the least amount of winds where we have the lowest wave heights across the Gulf of Mexico and the Bahamas, where we see more darker blues and duller greens that represent anywhere from 5 to 10 knot winds. We can also see that for the next 24 hours, these are the areas that are going to be receiving the most in the way of rainfall, and we see that both the Euro and the GFS models are in agreement that sections of Florida, the Bahamas, sections of central and western Cuba, sections of southern portions of the Dominican Republic, sections of Puerto Rico, section of the US and British Virgin Islands, anywhere from Guadeloupe southward, Dominica, Martinique, St. Lucia, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Grenada, Barbados, Trinidad and Tobago, all associated with the tropical wave. Sections of Suriname, French Guiana, Guyana, Venezuela, Colombia, Panama, Costa Rica, Nicaragua, Honduras, El Salvador, Guatemala, Belize, Mexico. Not much in store for sections of the Cayman Islands, but we can rule out an isolated shower or two. And we see that both the Euro and the GFS models are in consensus with this rainfall forecast for the next 24 hours. So look out for that. Taking a look at Dr. Levi Cowan's recent post. If you don't know by now, this guy is actually the founder of tropicaltidbits.com, that website that we use so much to show us the supercomputer models. I've been following him for the past 10 years. I think I've been following him since 2010, and he posts some very useful things on Twitter. He's now a meteorologist and he works for an entity in Hawaii, if I'm not mistaken. So we remember in his recent video, he highlighted this tropical wave across portions of the waters of the main development region that had a chance of making it into the Caribbean to affect maybe sections of Jamaica with some rainfall. And he spoke about it again today, continuing to monitor a tropical wave quickly approaching the Windward Islands, which will track through the Caribbean this week. A strong ridge to the north could guide the wave into Central America before it has a chance to develop. However, if an upper trough over the southeast Gulf of Mexico causes the wave to slow down, nudge north, and generate sustained deep convection, there's a chance for development prior to reaching the Yucatan Peninsula region. The GFS and ECMWF ensembles have been highlighting this risk, but it remains a low probability signal for now, something to keep an eye on though. And we're going to be looking at all of what he is highlighting. So this is the tropical wave right here to the east of Trinidad and Tobago, to the north of Suriname and French Guiana, and is expected to move towards the west-northwest to pass to the south of Jamaica as of now. We know these things, so sometimes they change with the direction that they're going, so we definitely have to keep our eye on it as it pushes westward, especially considering how warm the waters are. Who knows exactly what's going to be happening. And we see that he's highlighting where it's going to be by Friday. That's 0Z on Friday, which is actually 7 p.m. on Thursday, so it should be to the southwest of Jamaica by 7 p.m. on Thursday. And these are the ensembles showing where the center of the system could be, all in these yellow areas where these red numbers are located. That could be the possible center of where the system is. Either way, we know even when these systems are far away, Jamaica could still get in on some amount of rainfall. And we see that the U.S. National Hurricane Center highlighted it on their 7-day graphical tropical weather outlook at about 2:18 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time today. That's about 1:18 p.m. Jamaica time today. And they've stated that this system has a 20% chance of cyclone formation within the next 7 days. It states here, a westward moving tropical wave located a few hundred miles, let's get back, located a few hundred miles east-southeast of the Windward Islands is producing disorganized showers and thunderstorms. Environmental conditions appear conducive for slow development once the wave reaches the western Caribbean late this week. So right here is where they're saying that it could possibly develop, but we're definitely going to be keeping our eye on this system as it traverses the southeastern Caribbean and passes to the south of Jamaica. As a matter of fact, let's reload the images to see if they updated it. Alright, they've just updated it. Let's see what they've stated, if they've changed anything. A westward moving tropical wave located a couple hundred miles east-southeast of the Windward Islands is producing disorganized showers and thunderstorms. Environmental conditions appear conducive for slow development once the wave reaches the western Caribbean late week. And we see that they just updated it at 7:39 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, which is actually 6:39 p.m. Jamaica time. So about 2 minutes ago they updated it, and we see that it still has a 20% chance of cyclone formation as it moves towards the west-northwest. And we're definitely going to be keeping our eye on it. We see the clouds associated with it. We don't see much deep convection at this moment. You can see that majority of it has died down. Don't see all of these dark reds or anything like that. We know how these things go. They usually, develop and then they die out and then they develop. We just have to keep our eye on it. And if we actually take a look at the models, let's take a look at what the models are showing. So this is the Euro model, and we're just going to be looking out in time to at least Friday, where it should be to the southwest of the island by then. So we're just going to be keeping our eye on the time frame, and we're going to be keeping our eye right here. This is the system right here as represented by the greens, all the moisture. And if we actually go out in time, we can see that the system should be across or near Jamaica by about 0Z on Thursday. That's about 7 p.m. on Wednesday, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, let's work with this. It's about Thursday. So about Thursday it should be here across portion of Jamaica. We see more darker greens than anything else. Let's look at what the GFS is showing for the same time period. So here it is, 12Z on Thursday. We see all the greens that have to do with the system. definitely affecting portions of especially southern and eastern Jamaica. And even if we go out in time, we can definitely see what's unfolding with it, definitely passing to the west of us. Who knows if it's going to be developing for sure. Either way, the GFS is very robust with that, showing even some yellows and reds in there to the west of the island. So it could be possibly trying to develop into a tropical depression, and we can see all the rainfall associated with it as represented by the purples coming into especially windward islands that represent up to what, 2 to 3 inches of rainfall. Some of that definitely making it to Jamaica, as these maps are showing the rainfall totals for the next 7 days. So it could do a number on portions of the Yucatan Peninsula, just like what Levi said. And this is not foreign. We're in the month of June. We usually see some kind of ramping up before all is said and done with the month, as we can see here. This map showing all the storm activity based on data from 1944 to 2020, and the era that it could possibly develop is not foreign to these systems at all. We can see all of these red dots showing where we had cyclone formation within the last many or a century. This map is actually showing the data from 1855 to 2009. So these are the usual eras for June 21 to June 30, considering that today is June 24th. And we can see some dots here and there across portions of the main development region, but we're more inclined to believe that this is the era that systems could develop, and it makes sense. Climatology is actually coming through with fruition. So if this system actually makes it westward, this is the year that is more favorable. And if it develops, let's see if it actually ends up into Mexico again, or maybe curves northward into portions of the United States. And we know that if this system actually gets a name, it will be named Beryl. Do you know anyone with that name? Alright, so that's it for today. Thanks for watching.